Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on The Flash Season 7. So we've had a 1 week break from The Flash this week. Originally it was meant to be this coming week, with an episode airing this week. However, things changed late in regards to that, so yeah. But anyway, the episode that is coming up next that was originally set to air a couple of days ago is episode 12, otherwise entitled Goodbye Vibrations, which, as the title does hint towards, is the goodbye episode for Cisco Ramon as a regular character on the show. Now, does that mean this is goodbye for good? No, we will see him back at some point in a future season, and even this season it was said in the initial news, which reported that he was leaving, that Cisco would actually be in the finale for this season. There's been nothing else said about that, but it was said that he specifically would be back for the finale. We don't know in what capacity. That's for us to wait and find out, I guess. But of course, it will be interesting to see how they say goodbye to Cisco on the show, how Team Flash react to it as well, and also just how us, the audience, feel once it's all said and done. Now, as I said in one of my other videos where the topic of Cisco leaving was brought up in the discussion, this is the first time that we are actually seeing a character that's been around since season 1 and been around for more than a couple of seasons actually leave the show. The fact the show got to season 7 without a main character and actor leaving is actually very surprising. Most shows start losing those level actors and characters around like your season 3 or 4. Of course, we are also losing Tom Cavanagh as well, but like Cisco, played by Carlos Valdez, we will see them again in the future at some point. When? That's for us to wait and see. But as you would expect with Cisco leaving, Carlos Valdez, who plays him, did interviews to commemorate, if you want to call it, his departure, which opens our eyes to his decision to leave as to why he did and all that, as well as what to expect from his goodbye episode. And we will also look at some more promo material that was released for the episode afterwards. So the interview in question that we go over in this video was done with TV Line. But yeah, let's just go over it right now. When did you find yourself glancing at the proverbial or perhaps literal door? I like that question. It's been a long time actually. Doing this kind of show with the sort of commitment that comes with it, it happened very fast. And I think that at the time I was in a place where I was still figuring out my life. And right around season 4, I started debating what the end for this character might look like. So that seed was always there. But it didn't really start becoming a reality until much later on, like the end of season 5, season 6, where I started to become more comfortable with the idea of, oh, I think there's a good way to put an end to this chapter. Now that's like fairly interesting because there has, like, I remember in season 5, I think it was, there was contract renewals for a lot of the actors, and what was reported at the time is that Carlos Valdez was the one that was sort of sitting on it, like not too sure whether he wanted to sign or not, and whether season 5 would be the end. And if you watch the end of season 5, the way they end Cisco's character in season 5 could have been the ending for the character. It's like him and Camilla walking down the street in slow motion, and it looked like they were just walking out of Central City. So if he left then, it would have been somewhat fitting, I guess. But obviously we saw him in season 6 and season 7. You've been the tech whiz, the sidekick, the evil doppelganger, and the hero in his own right. You've had romantic interests. You probably felt like you had explored a lot of the character. I've explored a lot, but also the showrunner, Eric Wallace, was really good at bringing in new life into the team in terms of character exploration and character dynamics. Bringing in Chester and Allegra and making Cecile a more consistent part of the story that really lends some welcome and refreshing energy to not just the dynamics within the stories, but also our dynamics as a cast. That was really nice, actually. Obviously, people will debate whether bringing in more characters helps with that. I think in certain aspects it does. It's just maybe in like certain other aspects, having more doesn't help. But yeah. What did you love the most about your experience over these 7 seasons? It is so easy to get caught up in the pinhole of working in Vancouver and working on these episodes day in and day out and living in the context of the Flash narrative, but every now and then I'll have an interaction with a fan or read some kind of correspondence that takes me out of that pinhole and endows me with enough perspective to be able to get in touch with how massive the influence of the legacy of this show is. There are people all over the world throughout the run of the show that have identified with these characters, and there are people that have had to go through very arduous times in their life, and this show has helped them move through them and sort of graduate from those circumstances. That is so humbling. So getting to feel that and feel connected to people around the world in that way who are moved by a story about essentially a kid who learns to run fast and save people and reckon with the ramifications of responsibilities, responsibility has been the most beautiful and rewarding part of the last 7 years of my life for sure. And just to touch on this, I don't know if anyone remembers this, but I think Carlos was the main actor or the first actor to at least acknowledge that news story that came out a few years ago, where that kid or that teenager was up binge watching The Flash at night on like Netflix or something, and his house caught on fire. And if he wasn't awake watching The Flash, unfortunately his family probably would have perished in that fire. But he was awake watching The Flash, was able to wake up his parents and the people in his house and get out. So The Flash technically saved a life there, or lives there. So I think Carlos was the first actor to acknowledge that news story when it came out. So there's just little things like that, and also just little personal things, like someone might be sad, they watch The Flash, they like the characters, and it puts them in a better mood when they watch the show. It's just little things like that. What are you going to miss about being on this set? Any co-stars, particular endearing or quirky antics? Anyone belting out show tunes between takes? I'm not going to play favorites here because my castmates will get mad at me if I do, but there absolutely is a favorite, and I won't disclose who that favorite is. I don't know if you have this experience, but work family is an interesting thing, an interesting concept, because it's not exactly family that you chose or that feels organic in any way. It's really forced family by way of circumstance, so that you can either succeed, or fail miserably. And I consider myself extremely lucky to have been trapped with a group of people that are empathetic and passionate, smart, intuitive, talented and hardworking, because I think we all influence each other in those respects. So I'm going to miss that influence. I'm going to miss Tom Cavanaugh's mentorship. I'm going to miss Grant Gustin's sense of humor. I'm going to miss Daniel Panabaker's savvy and intelligence and industriousness. I'm going to miss Jesse L. Martin's sense of perspective. I'm going to miss Candice Patton's sincerity and insight, and Danny Nicolette and Kayla Compton and Brandon McKnight. I could talk for hours about everyone I'd miss. So yeah, I'm going to miss having those positive influences in my life, but it is my hope that moving on to this post-Flash part of my life, I can sort of keep those voices living within me, because this happens to all of us. We come and go, and when someone leaves, those voices stay inside us. That's my hope, that even though they won't be a part of my daily life, they'll be a part of my consciousness in some way. But yeah, like touching on this, he talks about like the family aspect, like especially that group. I think it's Grant Gustin, Carlos, Tom Cavanaugh, Daniel Panabaker, and I think it might be Jesse L. Martin. I'm not too sure about Jesse L. Martin, but like their group like that, they've been to each other's weddings and everything like that. So they're a really tight-knit group, and obviously that will extend once the show ends as well. Previewing your finale, or final episode, might I say, airing Tuesday, June 8th, did you like that it was a bit goofy and you got to do some out there things as Cisco? I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with this episode. Leaving a show after years of working on it can be such an emotionally complex event. So to get the chance to be irreverent and kind of throw caution out the window and just play, just be silly, that ended up being a very cathartic way, or experience, for me. Because if it had been this very significant, intense, monumental goodbye, I think the pressure of delivering on that and making it feel meaningful for myself, I don't think that would have been the right way to go. I'm actually really grateful that Eric and the writers chose this route for my departure from the show. It's a very silly, very goofy, low stakes departure. Now, I sort of half agree with this. I would have preferred them not to do that, overly, mopey and, try to make it sound like this massive thing with Cisco leaving, when it just would have felt out of the ordinary. Like, Cisco's never been that type of character, so why make his departure try and fit that, if that makes sense? However, I don't know if making it like overly goofy, overly silly is the best way to go either. I think they've tried to go black or white, and they've got like pretty much put two decisions there, and they maybe should have hit somewhere in the middle. But we haven't seen it. We have to watch it, make up our own decision. And I'm looking forward to seeing how they wrap up Cisco's regular part of the show, if that makes sense. But that's it with the interview. But they did release some promo images for this episode. Now, they don't feature any of the this action stuff, if you want to call it. That was all in the trailer, but maybe the promo images maybe hint at some of the goofy and silly stuff as well. So the first bunch is that we see a dinner party going on. I think the people at this dinner party are Joe, Barry, and Caitlin, as well as Cisco. So they're saying goodbye to Cisco, and it looks like it's complete with karaoke. There's some microphones there. I'm going to assume it's karaoke. We haven't had that in a while, so let's see how that goes. Next up, in another group, we do have Iris, Allegra, and Cecile that are saying goodbye to Camilla, complete with donuts. So we have karaoke at one party, donuts at the other. Which one are you going to? I might swing by both. Donuts with karaoke, or karaoke with donuts sounds pretty good. And finally, this is probably the only thing in the promo images that relate to story that we should really take note of too much. If you're wondering, oh, where's this going to go and what will extend past this episode, is we do see Iris and Joe sitting together talking, and there is a folder on the table. I can't really tell what it is, but I'm going to assume that they may be working on the Kristen Kramer case. Obviously, we know what happened with Joe. He's left the CCPD. There's going to be some investigation with Kristen Kramer, and Iris was always been interested in Kristen Kramer and a bit suspicious of her. So I wouldn't be too surprised if we see a father and daughter team up, which is what I was asking for. So hopefully this is what they're doing, because you get to have Joe have a storyline that works really well with the show, with a character that has done some stuff previously, and then Iris gets to get involved and do some investigative journalism. So let's hope they do it, because it was right there. It was the obvious thing to do, but sometimes shows don't do the obvious thing to do and the clear thing to do. But in this case, it seems like they're doing it. So let's wait and see. If they do it, I'm not going to get my hopes up too much, but let's just wait and see. But thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show support. Let me know in the comments section down below your various opinions on what we went over in this video. Let me know your feelings about Cisco going and everything like that. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.